Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and today we're going to be talking about that developing tropical low, which is likely at peak intensity now in the Gulf of Carpentaria, before we talk about some tropical low activity in the Coral Sea and some heavy rainfall for southeast Queensland. A lot to get through in today's forecast update, so make sure you are subscribed and also leave a like on the video while you're at it. We're going to start things off up in the Gulf of Carpentaria with this developing tropical low here, which is just offshore from Cape Wessel and Nullarbor at this time, delivering wind gusts up to 60 kilometres an hour to the town site there, and maximum sustained winds of around 30 kilometres an hour or so. They have since eased off a little bit, and considering the appearance of the tropical low about 12 hours ago, this is a very unhealthy looking system. I mean, it didn't even have any thunderstorm activity 12 hours ago. It's now got some good convection starting to wrap up around its centre, so it is looking a little bit healthier this morning, but I mean, it is a very disappointing system, that's for sure, in terms of appearance, and it completely died off last night, and that is as a result of high levels of wind shear. And that's apparent, the high levels of wind shear, by all of this streaming cloud that's been pushed down off Papua New Guinea and Indonesia, and it's moving in this southerly direction over the top of this tropical low through here. So it's allowing what is called pulse thunderstorms to fire up, which are disorganized, messy, and very brief thunderstorms to fire up around the center. But these thunderstorms aren't being allowed to organize adequately into producing a tropical cyclone here, and that is why this system, even though it has some very favorable sea surface temperatures and some good mid-level humidity, it is not going to be able to intensify into a tropical cyclone, at least not over the next couple of hours, that's for sure, unless conditions miraculously improve for this system. The Bureau of Meteorology has given it a 10% chance of tropical cyclone genesis, and I do believe that that is a fair call at this time. Cyclonic wind gusts are possible on Cape Wessel this evening and into tomorrow morning, as the core of the system, which is very, very small. It's these thunderstorms here, which are located over the top of Nullarbor, pass over the area because it is moving strangely in a northwesterly direction. And yeah, gale force winds are possible there, but that doesn't mean that this will be a tropical cyclone, because it needs to get gales across 3/4 of its surface area, and there's no chance this system does that at any point in its lifespan at this time. But a very good call from the Axis G3 model about 10 days previously, calling for a tropical low in the Gulf of Carpentaria, actually in a very similar spot to where it is now. And the Axis has made about 3 or 4 of these very good calls with systems that ended up in the Coral Sea or in the Gulf of Carpentaria just this cyclone season alone. I can think of a few off the top of my head: Cyclone Lincoln and Cyclone Megan especially. So the Axis G3 model, the Bureau of Meteorology's own forecast model, has done a fantastic job with predicting long-range systems, and I do actually have a high degree of confidence in said model as a result. In terms of rainfall, because that is the main threat from this system, you can see it very quickly disorganizes itself. But first off, there is a little bit of rainfall expected to fall around the center of this system, but that's really only going to last over the next 6 to 12 hours before it completely dissipates by this evening, and this system becomes nothing more than just a bit of a mess of some heavy showers and sporadic thunderstorms here and there, and it's completely gone off the forecast models by Sunday afternoon as well. In terms of rainfall accumulation over the next 3 days, I'd be expecting accumulations no higher than 100 millimeters. I reckon the models are very bullish here, especially the Eastern Gulf. I mean, they're calling for nearly 200 millimeters on the top of Nullarbor. I would say 100 millimeters is possible, and the majority of that is going to fall over the next 6 hours or so. Some steady but heavy rainfall can be expected there, and also up towards Cape Wessel through here, up to 150 millimeters is possible, and that is also not really reciprocated, but it is still forecast by the Axis G3 model, just in a completely different location. But yeah, anywhere between 50 and 100 millimeters is possible around Nullarbor and Cape Wessel over the next 6 to 8 hours before it definitely eases off pretty much completely, and it should be the last significant rainfall of wet season 2024 by the looks of things. I mean, it's all pulling out of Arnhem Land at this time. Groote Island high and dry, Melville Island high and dry, Darwin looking high and dry as well, and it looks like the rest of the rainfall is going to be falling on the Cape York Peninsula before again it completely dies off there. The wet season seems to be about a week or two late to leave, which is good news for rain lovers but bad news for people, especially in far north Queensland, who have had just a comical amount of rainfall over the past 3 months. In fact, I started a comment yesterday, I believe it was from Daryl in Mount Cambrian, who said 5.7 metres of rain since December 1st, 5,700 millimetres of rainfall in the Daintree since December 1st. Now, that is an unofficial official recording, but that is about 3 times the average annual rainfall in just 4 months in the Daintree rainforest, which is absurd rainfall accumulations. And keep in mind, 2.3 metres of that, 2,300 millimetres of that, was in 1 week from Cyclone Jasper, and the rainfall accumulations are just so high that they are measuring them now in feet or in metres, because millimetres just don't cut it. I mean, 1 millimetre compared to 5,700, it's nothing. It's like pissing in the ocean. So 5.7 metres of rainfall, a ridiculous quantity of rainfall has fallen up there, and thankfully, as you've seen over the past 30 seconds, not much is expected to continue to fall there, which is very good news indeed, because they actually had a very wet yesterday around the Daintree and around Cairns as well. I think Cairns did miss out on it. They only received about 25 or 28 millimetres or something officially, but areas in the Daintree received up to 180 or 200 millimetres from just constant rainfall all night. So it's just these, every week it seems like they're getting a night where it just rains and rains and rains, and that's an extra 200 millimetres for a weekly total of 300 millimetres, and it just keeps adding up and adding up and adding up, and before you know it, you're receiving monthly accumulations of 1.5 metres up there, which is what they've had for the past 4 or 5 months pretty consistently as well. And keep in mind up here as well, February was a little bit below average in terms of rainfall for some areas, so it's not like it's been consistently extremely wet months, like 99 percentile months. There's actually been some dry months mixed in there as well. It's really just been December and April where the majority of the rainfall has fallen. Anyways, rant over on the rainfall up there. I mean, it's not even affecting me, so I don't really have a right to rant about it, but it does look like dry conditions are going to start to take a hold through there, and the rainfall is easing off there over the coming couple of days. Just a couple of showers remaining throughout the course of today, and maybe even into tomorrow morning as well, but throughout Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, it looks like far north Queensland spared of any significant rainfall. And if we go and take a look at rainfall accumulation over the next 10 days, I mean, it's 50 millimetres tops, and even then I think that might be a little bit bullish as well. Widespread 10 to 25 millimetres, and I believe that is much more accurate in terms of rainfall over the next 10 days. So starting to dry off up there, which is fantastic news for our friends up in far north Queensland. Now, taking a look here at the Coral Sea, or the mess that is the Coral Sea situation right now, and there's no thunderstorms associated with these developing tropical lows, which is very disappointing indeed, because, and to make an accurate forecast, we definitely would have wanted to see a couple of thunderstorms now starting to fire up. At this time, I think this is going to be a bust event where we don't see a tropical cyclone or even a tropical low start to develop out of it, and the Bureau of Meteorology also agrees with me on that part. They're not expecting any tropical low or cyclone activity out of this weather system. What is going to be happening is there will be a line of thunderstorms starting to develop from a broad low pressure area, which will sort of wedge itself between Queensland and New Caledonia from tomorrow morning onwards, and they'll be driving some heavy showers and thunderstorm activity ashore in southeastern Queensland, and that'll be starting practically from about now for southeastern Queensland as well, from when this video goes live, and it will continue right throughout Saturday and into Sunday, hopefully easing off by Monday morning, when it might start to look more like a very blustery sort of southeasterly onshore flow weather event, where you get those damaging winds and some light showers from the southeast through there as these tropical lows start to draw away from the Queensland coastline and move in towards the South Pacific Basin here, but they don't become tropical cyclones at any point in their lifespan. In fact, it looks like they actually remain non-tropical, and if anything, if they crept closer to the Queensland coastline and headed towards Tasmania, they'd have a higher chance of becoming an east coast low more than anything. So this is a pretty interesting and also quite a confusing forecast at the same time. We're talking about rainfall accumulations on the Queensland coastline approaching 120 millimetres in the worst case scenario through here around Noosa, 100 millimetres, and then down towards Brisbane, 20 to 30 millimetres. The Gold Coast about 40 millimetres, Coomera maybe 40 or 50 millimetres, and inland as well might receive some pretty significant rainfall totals through here. Mount Perry up towards 100 millimetres of rainfall. Just outside of Gympie, you're probably looking at 50 to 100 millimetres of rainfall as well, so some heavy rainfall can be expected through there, and that will be starting, as I said, practically from about now, from this thick low-level cloud that's just streaming in from this sort of jet interaction weather event that we're starting to see develop up there. And if we were to take a look at rainfall rainfall radar imagery, you can see this is actually a pretty heavy block of rainfall through here, consistent 10 to 15 millimeter per hour rainfall to accumulations, and considering they're situated over the same spot for up to around 5 or 6 hours at a time, this rainfall is only going to increase, it's only going to get heavier, and you're going to be seeing some pretty significant rainfall accumulations through this area, with possibly some severe thunderstorms as well. We could be seeing up to 50 or 60 millimeters an hour in the core of these weather events here, so very heavy rainfall is possible, and I would not be surprised if these storms do actually go severe warned here. It's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. The risk of severe thunderstorms with heavy rainfall and damaging winds remains quite possible for inland areas around the Sunshine Coast and the Gold Coast and Brisbane as well. Not much in terms of damaging winds though, which is some good news through there. You can see the coastal trough really starting to set itself up now. So this is looking like a healthy forecast for some strong thunderstorms in this area. So we're going to have to watch and see what happens throughout the course of today up here. Like I said, in terms of rainfall accumulation over the next 3 days, and in fact over the next 24 hours, expect some pretty significant accumulations before they ease off by Sunday early afternoon into the evening. But yes, certainly some flash flooding, maybe even some minor or moderate riverine flooding is possible as well as these tropical lows start to develop and throw a bunch of rainfall ashore too. That basically does it for the main stories on today's weather forecast. In terms of other interesting weather happening around the nation, there really isn't much. Looks like there's going to be a little bit of a wet week coming in for the west coast of Tasmania, maybe 100 millimeters falling there. But apart from that, just doesn't look like it wants to rain anywhere else in Australia. I know it's typically around May when we start to see the first significant cold fronts brush the coastline, but we should certainly be starting to see signatures of them now, and they should definitely be starting to creep up into the Great Australian, but just nothing yet, and it's radio silence on winter season 2024. But like I said, it will be a late start. But when she comes, she will be violent, that's for sure. I can pretty much guarantee that right now. What is good news for winter lovers is the fact that New Zealand, especially the South Island, is picking up consistently some very heavy rainfall at this time. And that means that the winter rainfall is all but on its way for Western Australia and Southern Australia as well, especially Western Australia. I mean, we're in desperate need for it, that's for sure. But that is the latest I have. Thank you so much to the channel sponsors. Their names on screen right now. 15 of you guys, so let's see if we can push that number to 20, inching in on 14,000 subscribers as well. So the support in the channel, it just keeps on coming. So thank you so much for that, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.